There's a lot of things that shift as you are navigating divorce. And today's guest, Stories from the Other Side, is here to share her story of transforming pain into purpose, and specifically how she really got over our culture of social drinking and when it became a problem. So, if you find yourself reaching for that glass every night, glass of wine, bottle of wine, maybe like me, it's a whiskey cocktail, this is the episode for you. Welcome to the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast dedicated to helping women navigate the emotional journey that is divorce. I'm your host, Erica, and if you're trying to figure out life after the big D, welcome to the club. Whether you're contemplating divorce or dealing with the aftermath or any of the many phases in between, the club has got you covered. Each week, you'll hear stories from women who have been in your shoes. This isn't about spilling tea on divorce details. This is about giving you the tools to take control of your own healing journey. Listen in weekly for advice, tips, and tools to help you move through each stage of the process. Welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. I'm your host, Erica, and today we have a Stories from the Other Side. Jeannette Levitt is joining us, so thank you, Jeannette, for being willing to share your story. These episodes are so powerful. They're our most listened episodes, and they really are the ones that people always message in, and they're like, oh, I just needed to hear that. I heard so much of what your guest shared and what I'm going through. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I get to be a crazy ex-wife with you. So
Right.
good stuff.
Welcome to the club. We're all crazy, but it's about being the good kind of crazy, not the bad kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And part of, you and I both have part of that. We're a little bad kind of crazy, got into a little bit too much drinking for a little bit, coping through social drinking. But before we jump all the way into that, tell us a bit about your story, Jeannette.
Okay. So I was married for 17 years. We have 4 school-age kids at the time. They were 9 to 13. So 9, 10, 12, and 13. Very tender age. And I was totally clueless, totally caught off guard. My husband was just completely checked out, and I didn't know it was about to happen. I can see, later I could put the pieces together, but at the time, it was a total shock. And by the time he came to me, he was completely checked out of the marriage. Did find out soon after that there was another person involved. He had fallen for someone that he was working with. Sounds very cliche. And, for a good while, I was really caught up in this victim mentality like, ugh, this is so typical. I felt totally wronged, you know. In some ways, I think I was. I think, I wish that there had been an opportunity to maybe do some counseling, but he was checked out. And so that's what I was dealing with. And, a bunch of years later, I could look back and I could say, well, we actually were pretty disconnected from the get-go, which is pretty sad to realize, but it was also good to realize that I was not just a pure victim in this. And we both, we both repressed a lot. Neither one of us was connecting, and we were kind of play acting almost like that we had this life. We'd actually lost our first child. So very soon after we were married, we had tragedy, and we never really coped with it well as a couple. We grieved, but very separately. And that was super hard. And then we launched into rebuilding our family right away. We had 4 more kids within 5 years after, well, we adopted 2 children and we had 2 more biological kids. But 5 years after we lost our son, we had 4 kids. So that was a lot. And then I think my ex had some major career success and he was living in the spotlight and I was kind of living in his shadow. I was thinking that I was happy and this was exciting for us as a family, but I realized that I wasn't. I was kind of lost through that time. I mean, I was taking care of the kids, which was awesome, and I loved being home with the kids, but
Yeah. And it happens so easily, right? It takes 2. I think it's such a powerful realization that you had that you weren't just the victim in this. So you were wronged because nobody deserves to be cheated on. Also on the side of, infidelity, like that is such a brutal hand to be dealt, whether or not they actually take it to a physical level, right? Like in my story, when I found out about the other woman who was a coworker, they were just very deeply woven in an emotional affair. They hadn't started a physical aspect yet, but either way, it breaks something so deeply in what is, the most sacred vow, and nobody sets out to get divorced. You mentioned the tragedy at the beginning of your marriage. It is, two people coming together. We all have intentions and hopes and expectations, and then hard stuff happens. And if we don't figure out how to navigate through the hard stuff together, we grow apart, and it just is what happens. But it is so powerful to look at, like, hey, okay, there was a part of this that was me. And when you realize that, right, it helps you not repeat that. Then you're like, oh, this is a thing I don't want to do again in a relationship. This is a lesson I get to learn. So it's super, super powerful.
Yeah, it's empowering when you get to that point. It's not, I mean, it feels like I think it's sort of natural to stay in this victim mentality at first, and there's just, I mean, you're navigating so many hard emotions. I mean, however divorce happens, no matter what the story is, but, especially when you throw another person into the mix, and it's really hard, but when you start to make that transition into, "Okay, I see some ways that I contributed to this. I was, submerging a lot. I was not fully connected to him either."
Yeah,
Yeah,
it just helps with that healing process because, like you said, you get to take your power back.
yeah,
We all sit in a victim phase. I did for years, you guys. So
yes,
I'm not immune to it just because I did the work, just because I love doing self-development, just because I love owning the ish and cleaning it up, doesn't mean that I didn't spend time being like, oh, F him. Like
yeah,
he did this to me. Like he did this. He should take on more. He should own more. He should be grateful for all that I've done, all the things. Okay, we sit there. And then eventually we realize, oh, I don't wanna give him that power anymore. I don't wanna give
yeah,
him that control over my current life. It is the past. It happened back then.
yeah,
He doesn't get to continue to show up in my everyday life still
yeah,
impacting me. Yeah.
and you can't move forward
Mhm.
when you're feeling that way. There's no way to move forward, and I couldn't, I mean, in my situation with my ex, they eventually married, and they have 3 kids now, and I couldn't stay in that place. I'm co-parenting with him. Our kids are growing up. We've got, and thank goodness. I mean, who would have ever thought that I would get to the place where we would, like, have some holidays together, share an Airbnb together at my daughter's college graduation. I mean, it's pretty nuts, but making that leap and starting to turn the corner is pretty great.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing, and that is like
yeah,
a goal hope for so many of us, right? Like, will we
yeah,
ever get to a place where it doesn't irritate you or hurt you or,
mhm,
upset you when you hang out with the other person? Because yeah, if you got
mm,
kids, it's a lifetime. Just
yeah,
because the paperwork's signed and you have different houses doesn't mean you don't have to keep dealing with them. And then grandbabies show up and all sorts of other things show
oh,
up and weddings and, like you're with the person for a really
uh-huh,
long time, even
yeah,
if you're not married. So I
yeah,
love that. One of the other
yeah,
things that you had brought up was like the after divorce, another similarity we had. Well, and mine started, I think, during the separation is that I started to rely on just a drink or two to relax in the evening because I was so stressed out. And we all know that alcohol is not great for us, but we also know that it does help take the edge off and it does help people relax. And, especially after you are single again, where do you meet people? Out at the bars. You meet people at work, you meet people in a sport or a social activity, or you meet people at the bars. And so it becomes an issue for a lot of people that all of a sudden they're back out in the drinking world, which was also an issue for you.
yeah, oh, definitely. It was a big part of my story post-divorce. I mean, I did so many things that were great for me in terms of finding my way post-divorce, but drinking was just numbing it all out and kinda dumbing myself down, like, for years. So, I would take, a step or 2 forward, but I was still drinking. So, I was, like, just taking a step backwards too at the same time. And just like you said, Erica, it was like you're socializing differently. Like, suddenly, I was with the kids before all the time, and, suddenly my ex-husband has them some of the time, and eventually I start dating. And obviously you're navigating this like cocktail of emotions that's just overwhelming. And we've all been taught that alcohol is a great go to, which is not really, but it can feel like it in the moment. And it can get us through some rough spots and it definitely helps us numb. But, quite honestly, what we need is not to numb, is to actually feel it and to work through it. And it can be a slippery slope. I mean, I gave you tons of credit. You got out of it. And that's great. But I think for a lot of people, they think, okay, when this is over, I'll go back to normal drinking. But it can be a slippery slope and it starts to be their coping mechanism. And I think I found myself, 8 years post divorce. I was like, something's got to give.
Yeah. And it's so common because it is a coping strategy. It's an avoidance strategy. It's, hey, things feel heavy right now. So what do we do? Well,
Hmm.
all the marketing tells us that the fun times are had over cocktails and the happy hours and it's
Yep.
true because you're like, "Oh yeah, let's schedule a happy hour. Let's go meet up and then we have a couple cocktails." And it is so social for us. Yes, mocktails are on their rise, but it is a way that people avoid dealing with the issues, and that's why I used it. Like, it just hurt too much, and I just didn't wanna
Yeah.
deal with it, and so, for a while, that was a good solution to have a couple cocktails at night after my son went to bed because I just needed some relief, and
Mhm.
then at a certain point, like, anytime you're in my opinion, anytime you're using some sort of a quote unquote tool, helpful or not helpful, it should be a temporary solution
Yeah.
while you're working your way back out, right? So if we're really avoiding looking at the pain, looking at the work that needs to be done to rebuild our life, and we're just staying very busy in the drinking social time going out, little by little, can we start to shift it? And that was my approach. That was like, okay, little by little, I don't really wanna do this anymore. Because for a while the
Yeah.
drink got bigger. It started as like a drink, and then it became like a mason jar. It
Yeah.
became like I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm only having
Yes.
1." And it was still only 1 large drink, but I didn't realize that there was anything wrong with it until I was traveling for work. I was in London at the bar at the hotel, having a fantastic conversation with this guy next to me about Gabby Bernstein, about like,
Oh, mhm.
manifesting and spirituality and like
Yep.
trusting the universe. How do you trust the universe to allow things to unfold? And we're having this great conversation. And I'm telling him about like, yeah, I used to have to, have a couple drinks every night. And he's like, oh, so you were an alcoholic. And I was like, what? Like, I was so caught off guard and so offended because when you think about somebody who we consider to be an alcoholic, right? They can't control it. They're drinking obsessively. They're drinking entire bottles. I was only having a couple. And he's like, if you're using the alcohol to cope and get through your night, that is when alcohol becomes the problem. And he's like, you relied on it. And she's like, you just told me you relied on it to be able to get through those nights for a while. And I was like, I did. And it was so eye opening that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. It can just be, it's a crutch that I'm leaning far too much on that I need. I needed to have it to be able to calm down. I was so on edge because of all of the stress that was going on with the separation and the divorce and the other woman and still trying to work. And so it's not to cause any judgment. This conversation is to bring awareness that sometimes we don't realize how much we're really leaning on something. And when we lean on something that heavily, it's because there is some emotion underneath that needs to be supported and dealt with and moved through because otherwise we just continue to return to it. I did actually try quitting, backing out of my drinking habits again this summer, but I'll pause. We can get into that in a second. I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add because I just kind of ran for a bit.
No, it's all good. I mean, this is such important stuff, I think, especially what I'm hearing, that the notion that you have to kind of say you're an alcoholic if you're developing this problem. I mean, there's like you're alluding to, there's this huge gray area. And so many people get stuck. I mean, it's why I stayed stuck for all those years because I thought, okay, it's AA or nothing. So I'm just going to keep trying to be a better normal drinker, you know? And I wasn't having a rock bottom. I was functioning. I was doing what I needed to do, but I was binge drinking. I was, I was binge drinking, I don't know, once every week or two. And I was drinking on some other days, but I wasn't drinking every day. And it's just unhelpful to think in terms of like you have to label yourself an alcoholic because you don't. And that term is not even used in the scientific or the medical community anymore. It's alcohol use disorder. There's a range. And you don't have to, say you're powerless. You don't have to say you're an alcoholic. You can address your drinking. If it's not serving you, if it's hurting you more than it's helping you, if it doesn't feel good and aligned, and then there's a path to make some changes. I mean, I'm now an alcohol freedom coach through this Naked Mind is a group that I trained with, and that's how I broke free with them. And I realized there's actually this whole world of support and resources. And once I realized that, it was like, boom, like I'm off to the races because that's the thing. The alcohol was what was holding me back. Like I was doing all the things and I repaired the relationship. Things were good with the ex and his family, and the kids are starting to thrive. But I was still like dumbing it all down with booze. And once I got rid of that, boom.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted from overthinking, and stuck in uncertainty, this message is for you. You don't have to keep feeling that way. Inside the club, you'll find a safe space to rediscover who you are, clarify what you want, and determine how you want to move forward. Surrounded by women who truly understand and guided by expert support, you are not alone on this journey. Join us at thecrazyexwivesclub.com/the club. It's time to reclaim your life. And I think what you said, right? It's just when alcohol becomes a blocker to what you're trying to get to. You were, binge drinking, but like once a week. That was about what
Yeah.
after divorce, it was like, yeah, maybe once a week or every other week. I didn't drink alone. I didn't drink at my house when nobody was there. I'm not a wine drinker, right? But the binge drinking, and all of a sudden the next day you'd be like, oh, what, like I felt like a completely different person, or all of a sudden everything got really hard. And that's kind of what I was experiencing this summer. So I didn't really love drinking. Never have I loved it or craved it. Then I went through that little time. And then now my current partner is very social. And I joke about it all the time on the show. He's just a very Irish man who drinks a lot of whiskey. Like is a very stereotypical happy Irish drinker. So we went out a lot and we were always socializing with everybody downtown, and that became the social circle. And it was 4 or 5 days a week we were downtown, eating out, having a couple cocktails. And so I had a really hard time breaking that habit. My body didn't like it. So when I drank, then I ate really crappy. Then the next day I didn't get my stuff done. I had to sleep extra. My body felt gross, like icky. And as I'm trying to launch a business and trying to launch a podcast and do all these things, I didn't have the space to like not get stuff done. And so things were starting to pile up, and I realized that. But again, I didn't really have a drinking problem. I wasn't throwing up. I wasn't blacking out. I wasn't incoherent. I was having 2 or 3 when we were out. But it was starting to get in the way of the other things. But the biggest piece, and this is where what we're saying is there's usually an emotional tie, is I would, wake up, I'd be like, okay, I don't want to go out tonight. I don't want to go out to the bars and socialize tonight. I just want to like get my stuff done. And the afternoon would hit and one of two things would happen. Either the day would have been really, really stressful, or something really amazing happened. Right. And all of a sudden the bubbly feeling, right? Or like I just want to run away. And I was like, okay, let's go grab a happy hour. Let's go grab one cocktail. I'll just have one. Right. And I would just have one, but then I'd eat junk food or I'd do something else. And again, the spiral was still there because there was an emotional connection to it. And until I realized, I was like, oh, you're seeing alcohol as the quick fix to get to that high state of happiness. So when work goes really bad, I want a quick fix to get to that high state of happiness. When things are going really amazing, I want to celebrate and get to an even higher state of happiness. Yeah. And when I unlocked that awareness, then I could be like, well, what else does that? Going for a walk, connecting with a friend. Maybe occasionally I still allow myself to do a little Amazon shopping just to raise the vibe. That was another bad habit I had to break. But when I realized it was the emotional thing that I was craving, it could break the reliance
Yeah.
on like, oh, I'm not actually craving the drink. So now we go out and I'm like, okay, I'll take a soda water and a lemon, or I'll like
Hmm.
make a lemonade and have like a fresh lemonade
Right.
with me or something. And it's the same thing, but you don't notice it until you slow down enough and start to look at
Yeah.
how do you feel around alcohol.
I mean, this is brilliant. This is so good, Erica, because you are exactly, I mean, the awareness that you have, that's what's key. And that's what so often people are, I mean, myself included, I was just kind of sleepwalking through it. I didn't I didn't know to slow down and really take a look. I mean, that's what I started to do when I found this naked mind and started to do the work around it, and that's how I was able to break free. And slowly I started to kind of rewire my beliefs around it and realize, actually, I don't like the taste of this stuff. Actually, it's not making, me more fun or funny. It's making me a jackass or whatever, and I feel like shit the next day. So, I mean, but just like your awareness around it, that's so huge. And that's what, if people are struggling out there, is just start to get curious, start to unwind these things that are going on. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next time you're like, "Oh, I just wanna go to happy hour. Oh, I just wanna drink," or, oh, whatever it is, just ask yourself why. Like,
Yeah.
what is it? What is going to do that thing going to get
Right.
you?
Right.
"Oh, I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna talk to some people, or
Right.
I'm gonna do this," and I had there's just being aware, slowing down
Right.
enough to ask yourself, "Why do I thing?" A
Yeah.
lot of times is the only shift you need to
Yeah.
be able to start to make changes in
Yeah.
your behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what do I really need right now?
Yeah.
Do I need this drink? Why?
Mhm.
What am I thinking is going to change with this drink? And can I get that? Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? So now you have sent, so often we hear from stories from the other side of women who then pivot into a new
Yeah.
a new passion,
Yeah.
a new
Yeah.
career, which is where you landed. You've mentioned it now. So you found a coaching program that helped you get sober. And so you
Yep.
have chosen the sober life. What am I? I'm not ready to say that I'm choosing the sober life, but my body hates drinking, hates
Uh-huh.
drinking. Like if I
Yeah.
drink the next day, I wake up like 5 pounds heavier of like water retention, like it's
Uh-huh.
pissed. And
Yeah.
so, but my birthday's coming up in a couple weeks. I don't know where this is going to land, but we're recording the end of August. My birthday's in mid-September. And I was like, okay, I'm good. But for my birthday, I'm gonna go have like a cocktail at this specific restaurant that we go to just for my birthday. So,
Hmm.
there's that balance. Like that's the balance that I
Hmm.
crave in my life. I don't want it to get in the
Hmm.
way of what I want
Hmm.
to do. I don't want it to
No.
stop me. I got too many other
No.
things that I just
Yeah.
desire
Yeah.
achieving,
Yeah.
but I do want to be able to like imbibe every once in a while and
Yeah.
do what I
Yeah.
want and find the right balance. But so
Yeah.
your coaching program, like you've chosen the sober path is what works for you and you're doing coaching. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, this naked mind, I mean, it's all about just helping people change their relationship with alcohol, whatever that means. And in fact, when I started down that path, I didn't think about forever. I had no notion that I was leaving alcohol behind forever, but I
Mhm.
was open and I knew it hadn't been serving me. So I actually did a 30-day alcohol experiment, which they have for free. Anyone can check out thisnakedmind.com and sign up for their 30-day alcohol experiment. And there's daily content, and it just helps you start thinking differently and just shifting your perspective enough. You start to learn more about what it's doing to your body and brain. And if you are actually taking a break, I did it during a dry January. I did the 30-day alcohol experiment and I was not drinking. I mean, sometimes they're doing the content and they're maybe trying to not drink, but maybe they are drinking or they're drinking more mindfully. But I did the 30 days and I just like felt so good. And I just was like, I'm not going back. And so I kind of dove into, they have 100 days of lasting change, which was another kind of low ticket program that they had. I'm not sure if it's offered still, but that was helpful. And the key for me was I stayed engaged with the community. Like they have a group with it. They have a companion app that you can join that has a huge community. And it's so helpful in helping people break free. And I just like, I had been dabbling. So I'd been a stay-at-home mom. And then during the divorce and like the sort of the decade, it's been a decade since more than a decade now since the divorce. But I was dabbling with lots of things to try to figure out, my kids are leaving the nest. And I did yoga teacher training and teacher training of yoga for kids. And whatever, been writing and doing all this stuff. But I didn't know exactly as my kids were leaving the nest, what is this next chapter for me? Because I'm not going to sit around, eating bonbons. I mean, I could, um,
On a
but
beach,
anyway,
that's
I mean,
not a bad way
yeah,
to spend the next 10 years.
not so. I guess it's not so bad, but I needed something. I wanted something, and I had never actually seen myself as an entrepreneur. But when I realized that this Naked Mind had coach training, I was like,
Mhm.
I got to look into this.
Yeah.
And I signed up. It was a really great, very intensive coaching training. And I was like, I loved it, and still love the organization. I'm very connected with the organization. And then, and went off and started a business
Yeah.
coaching women. And it's so fun to get to help others who are struggling like I was. I mean, this is, I am not happy that I had to, it took such a long route to get to this place, but I found my way, and this is
Yeah.
like what I love doing. So I'm very excited about it.
I love it. Well, we're always making the best choice we can, right? We're always doing the
Yes.
best choice we can until we make a different choice. And so I
Right.
think we all sit there and are like, "Oh, I wish I'd figured this out earlier. I wish I had cut back my drinking a lot earlier." But, we make the choice when we're ready.
Yeah.
And then when we make the choice when we're ready, it becomes something that is sustainable and long lasting
Yes.
because we're not forcing ourselves, right? It's not like a diet. We have to do this. It's like
Yes.
I don't wanna do this. I don't wanna feel like this anymore. It'll be
Yes.
interesting to see what happens because overall, I do not enjoy the taste of alcohol. I just
Yeah.
wish there were more mocktail options. So I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
get real good at crafting some
Oh.
cortisol cocktails and all that other I've really been loving. Lately, it's dark cherry juice, a fresh
Mhm.
squeezed lemon, and I have a soda stream, so, like, soda water, so it's bubbly. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. I just saw something recently that you would love. I've got to find that again. That was like a Jack and Coke or something, mocktail
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, 'cause
suggestion.
right? Yes, and that was always my drink was always a Jack and Coke, that's where
Yeah.
but the
Um,
irony, the funny part about it is I hated the smell of Jack Daniel's and whiskey and
uh-huh.
anything like that
Mhm.
until the divorce, and so I used to make this joke that, like, I finally got so, like, broken and jaded that I could move from, like, the girly Cosmo lemon drop whatever,
Yeah.
like, I could get into the real hard stuff now,
Uh-huh. Oh,
and
that's too
so
funny.
yeah, like I just, matured, I guess,
Uh-huh.
hardened
Yeah.
up, got
Uh-huh.
into the good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of options out there, you guys, and it'll be interesting to see how long I stick with this because
Yeah.
again, it just doesn't feel good. But I knew that there have been times in my life where alcohol has gotten in the way of what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, "Oh, I just need to make some changes. I just need to make some
Yeah.
changes and I need to get some support." So we do have Jeanette's info in the show notes. It's also on the crazyexwivesclub.com under episodes where you can read more about our conversation. But like Jeanette mentioned, community is so important in being able to continue to stay focused on your goals and to move forward and not feel so alone in all of the mess. And so, if you are struggling through separation or divorce or figuring out who the heck you are now that this is part of your reality, I would love to talk to you about the club. The club is that divorce membership, it literally is your community. It's your space to show up. We meet live 3 times every single month. You can chat all day, every day in the community space to meet other women and to get the support you want because we just all need to lift each other up. And when we're all helping each other, holding us accountable, being like, hey, you can do this, then we really can create amazing things in our next chapter. I want to thank
Yeah.
you, Jeanette, for joining us today. Is there
Oh,
anything
thank
else you want to
you.
just share with listeners
Yeah.
before we sign off?
No. No, I mean, this has been so great. I mean, I don't know if it'll be in the show notes, happy to give a discount to all your listeners. Anyone, if there are folks out there who are looking to change their relationship with alcohol as they navigate these difficult times. And I've got a freebie on my website as well. But I wish that you were around when I was going through divorce. I would have jumped in your club in a heartbeat. Just
Right.
so good.
Thank you. Yeah,
No.
I was lucky enough to have 3 women who really supported me through the 3 different phases of divorce, and I think that it's just something I wanna hold the space for people. Like, it's hard, you guys. It is
Yeah.
hard. So don't sit there and think like, "Oh, she's got it all together." I mean, some days right now, I still am struggling, and, I go back to the same things that I did to get over the pain in my divorce. So if I'm worried about money or careers or my kids starting school or moving as we're trying to figure out if we're relocating, all those pieces, it's the same stuff, it's the same tools, but we need somebody to lean on. We need
Yeah.
somebody to be like, the fear, I'm really worried today. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
valid. Valid. And it won't always feel like this. So
Hmm.
that's what we do in the club is give you that safe space to land and to figure out who you are so you can get your feet underneath you. Well, thank you, Jeannette, for joining us today. Thank you guys for listening in. Again, all her information is in the show notes. If you're curious about being sober curious, go ahead and pop over there, check it out. Otherwise, until next week, give yourself grace. Spend some time reflecting on what type of social interactions you want in your life. What do you want to call in? What does it look like? Is it hiking? Is it women's networking? Is it solo time? What do you need? And then we'll be back next week with another great episode. And that's it. Another great episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast for women learning how to heal from their divorce. Tune in next week for more advice and tips to help you figure out life after divorce. And until then, give yourself grace, do the best you can, and know that this is all part of the process.